Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really jumping into a topic that gets a lot of airtime in health circles, the ketogenic lifestyle.
It certainly does.
We've gathered quite a stack of sources, including a really comprehensive guide, Keto Diet and Recipes for a New You. And our mission, like always, is to kind of cut through the noise.
To get to the core of it.
Exactly. Give you those essential nuggets, help you figure out what this popular approach is really all about, maybe uncover a few surprises.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how this diet, often seen as a modern trend, it actually has these incredibly deep roots in medical history.
Right.
So we'll definitely trace that, look at the origins, unpack the science, how it actually works in your body, and then, importantly, how you can practically apply it.
Okay, let's unpack it then. We're covering everything from the biochemistry nitty-gritty
Mm-hmm.
to practical stuff like grocery shopping, even some recipes. Should be some aha moments, hopefully. Let's dive in. All right, so the basics first. When we say keto diet, what exactly are we talking about? What's the fundamental idea?
Well, at its heart, it's about a really significant reduction in your carbohydrate intake, like dramatic.
Okay.
And you pair that with a big increase in healthy fats. This specific shift forces your body into a unique metabolic state. It's called ketosis.
Ketosis, right.
And what's really remarkable, as I mentioned, is that this isn't some new fad. The whole idea of ketosis, it was actually discovered way back in the 1920s.
Wow, the 20s.
Yeah. Researchers were looking for ways to treat epilepsy, and they noticed that fasting seemed to reduce seizures pretty significantly.
Huh, interesting.
So the ketogenic diet was basically developed to mimic those metabolic effects of fasting, offering a dietary approach, especially for kids with epilepsy, that wasn't responding to medication.
That's a really powerful origin. So it started with a serious medical need.
Okay, so if the aim is shifting the body's fuel source, how do the macronutrients, the fats, proteins, carbs actually make that happen? What's a specific breakdown?
Yeah, the core principle hinges on this really unconventional macronutrient distribution. You're talking roughly 70 to 80% of your daily calories coming from fats.
70 to 80, that's huge.
It is. Then about 15 to 25% from protein, and only a tiny fraction, like 5 to 10% from carbohydrates.
Okay.
So when you restrict carbs that drastically, your insulin levels plummet. And that low insulin environment basically signals your body, okay, release fatty acids from fat stores. Your liver then grabs those fatty
The
acids.
liver's the key player here.
It really is. It converts them into these molecules called ketones. And those ketones become the primary fuel for your body and, importantly, your brain. So you're effectively switching the engine from running on glucose, from carbs, to running on fat. You mentioned the liver orchestrating this. Can you walk us through that biochemistry a bit more? What exactly is happening inside when ketosis really kicks in?
Sure. So the liver takes that stored fat and transforms it into what we call ketone bodies. The main ones are acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyrate, that's usually called BHB.
Right, BHB, that's the one people measure sometimes.
Exactly. That's the one you typically measure in your blood if you're tracking ketone levels. And there's also acetone. Now, the cool thing about ketones, unlike glucose, is they can cross cell membranes without needing insulin,
Ah, okay.
which makes energy production super efficient, especially in that low insulin state we talked about. This efficiency is also linked to why many people notice that initial, sometimes rapid water weight loss.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Why does that happen?
It's because your glycogen stores, those are your body's readily available carb reserves.
Mm-hmm.
They naturally hold on to quite a bit of water. So as those stores deplete because you're not eating carbs, you lose that associated water weight.
Got it. So that's the internal shift. But what about how it feels? People talk about the keto flu. What's that experience like?
Yeah, that's a very common experience.
Yeah.
As your body adapts, and this usually takes, several days, maybe up to a couple of weeks, for some people you might feel what's called the keto flu.
Right.
Symptoms can include fatigue, maybe some headaches, brain fog, irritability, that kind of thing.
Sounds unpleasant.
It can be, yeah. It's often linked to electrolyte shifts as your body adjusts its fluid balance. But, and this is important, many people who push through that initial phase report this almost immediate keto rush of energy afterwards,
Oh, interesting.
followed by often really improved mental clarity and focus. And that's thought to be because the brain just loves using ketones as this clean, steady fuel. Understanding this process, knowing what to expect, can actually be a huge motivator for you, the listener, to stick with it through that adaptation period. Hashtag the unexpected benefits of going keto.
Okay, so Obviously, weight loss gets a lot of the headlines, and it's a big reason people try keto. But what about other benefits? Are there broader, maybe less talked about advantages?
Absolutely. While weight loss is definitely a major draw, partly because you're burning fat for fuel, and also because fats are very satiating, so they help control calorie intake naturally.
Makes sense.
There are numerous other potential upsides. If you look at the bigger physiological picture, research suggests improvements in cardiovascular health markers, things like better blood sugar control, improved insulin sensitivity.
That's huge for diabetes or prediabetes, right?
Exactly, especially for type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance.
Oh.
We also often see a reduction in systemic inflammation throughout the body, which has wide-ranging implications for health.
And what about our brains? You mentioned mental clarity. Is there solid science backing that up?
There is, yeah. Ketones are a very efficient fuel for the brain. This can lead to that enhanced focus and concentration many people report. And there's even research exploring potential neuroprotective effects.
Neuroprotective, like protecting brain cells.
Yes, which is why keto is being studied quite actively for conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and of course its original use in epilepsy.
Mm.
Anecdotally, many people also just report, a better overall mood and more emotional stability once they're keto adapted.
That's really compelling. What about physical performance? It seems like cutting carbs would hurt athletes.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But actually, a lot of endurance athletes are turning to keto
Really? Why?
for sustained energy during lower to moderate intensity exercise. They become incredibly efficient fat burners. Plus, that reduced inflammation we talked about, that can mean quicker recovery after workouts.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other sort of unexpected perks?
Well, a well-formulated keto diet can often improve your lipid profile, your cholesterol numbers. Typically, you see an increase in HDL, the good cholesterol, and a decrease in triglycerides.
That's good news.
Definitely. It might also support gut health by fostering a more balanced gut microbiome. And some people even find it helps with skin issues, potentially by reducing the inflammatory responses linked to high sugar, high glycemic foods.
Wow.
And maybe on less tangible level, it really offers a chance for many people to fundamentally reassess their relationship with food, moving away from that sort of yo-yo dieting restrictive mindset.
Okay, so if you're listening and thinking, all right, I'm intrigued, maybe I want to try this, where do you even start? What are the practical first steps?
Right. The first most crucial step is really getting your head around those dietary guidelines. Like we said, aiming for roughly 70-75% fat, 20-25% protein, and only 5-10% carbs.
And quality matters here, right?
Hugely. It's essential to choose high-quality fats like avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts, seeds. For protein, go for minimally processed sources. And for those few carbs you're eating, focus on non-starchy vegetables.
Like leafy greens, broccoli.
Exactly. Leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, that kind of stuff.
Okay, but how do you translate those percentages into like actual grams of food on your plate? How do you figure out your specific needs?
Yeah, that's key. Calculating your individual macronutrient requirements is vital because it's definitely not one size fits all. It depends on your age, your gender, weight, how active you are, your goal.
Lots of variables.
Lots of variables. So, for example, if you're aiming for, say, 1,800 calories a day, that might translate to something like 126 to 135 grams of fat, maybe 90 to 113 grams of protein, and just 20 to 45 grams of net carbs.
Wow, only 20 to 45 grams. That's not much.
It's not, which is why tracking, especially at the beginning, can be really helpful. Using a food diary or an app helps you stay aware and make adjustments.
It does sound like planning is essential. Does meal prepping become kind of non-negotiable?
Meal prepping is, I would say, almost essential for making keto sustainable, especially with a busy life. Planning your meals for the week, maybe batch cooking some proteins or roasting low-carb veggies on a Sunday, using portion control containers. It just removes so much guesswork and decision fatigue during the week.
It keeps you from grabbing something non-keto when you're starting.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to experiment. Find new recipes, keep it interesting so you don't feel deprived. Hashtag Essential Keto Foods and Smart Swaps.
Let's talk food then. If someone's clearing out their pantry and fridge, what are the absolute keto must-haves? And what about clever swaps for things like bread or pasta?
Okay, pantry staples. Definitely healthy fats. Avocados, good quality olive oil, coconut oil, butter or ghee, nuts, seeds, chia, flax, pumpkin seeds are great.
Got it. Veggies.
Load up on leafy greens, spinach, kale, lettuce. Cruciferous veggies are your friends. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, zucchini, bell peppers. Those are all good low-carb choices.
And protein.
Quality protein sources. Meat, grass-fed if you can swing at poultry. Fatty fish like salmon for those omega-3s, eggs are fantastic. For dairy, think full-fat cheese, plain unsweetened Greek yogurt in moderation, and unsweetened nut milks like almond or coconut milk are great alternatives.
Okay, staples covered. Now, what about those moments when you're craving snacks or maybe missing your old carb favorites? What are the go-to solutions?
Yeah, snack attacks happen. Good options include a small handful of nuts,
Hmm?
cheese crisps, you can make those yourself easily, olives, sugar-free jerky, maybe a square or two of very dark chocolate, like 85% cocoa or higher.
Dark chocolate, nice. And swaps for bigger things, like rice or
Oh
noodles.
yeah, they're great swaps now. Cauliflower rice is a game changer. Zucchini noodles or zoodles, you can find recipes for fathead dough or keto bread made with almond or coconut flour. Shirataki noodles are another option made from konjac root.
Lots of options there.
Definitely. And don't underestimate herbs, spices, and making your own low-carb sauces. They add so much flavor. And one more thing, hydration and electrolytes are so important. Don't forget salt, potassium, magnesium.
Right, especially with that initial water loss. Good reminder. Okay, it's clear this is a significant shift. What are some of the common roadblocks people hit? And more importantly, how can you, our listener, navigate them successfully?
Well, we've touched on the keto flu, that initial phase of fatigue, maybe headaches.
Right.
The key strategies there are really doubling down on hydration and electrolytes, making sure you're getting enough sodium, potassium, magnesium from foods like avocados, leafy greens, nuts, maybe adding a pinch of salt to your water or using bone broth.
So manage the electrolytes.
Manage the electrolytes. And sometimes just easing into it, gradually reducing carbs over a week or two instead of going cold turkey can lessen those symptoms.
What about cravings? Missing bread, pasta, sugar. That must be tough.
Oh, carb cravings are definitely a big one for many people. The best defense is a good offense. Focus on eating enough healthy fats and protein at your meals to feel really satisfied. Fat is incredibly satiating.
Keep yourself full.
Keep yourself full. And sometimes, just keeping busy, finding distractions, can help ride out those initial intense cravings that usually lessen over time as your body adapts.
Okay, what about social life? Dining out, parties, family gatherings. That can be a minefield for any specific diet.
It really can. Social situations require a bit of planning. Check menus online beforehand if you're eating out. Look for simple protein and non-starchy veg options.
Ask for substitutions.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to ask for sauces on the side or swap fries for a salad. If you go to a party, offer to bring a keto-friendly dish you know you can enjoy.
Good idea. Share the keto love.
Exactly. And sometimes just communicating your choices calmly to friends and family helps. Let them know what you're doing and why. And remember, you don't have to eat everything offered. Focus on the people, not just the food. Another thing that comes up is hitting plateaus. Weight loss might stall after a while.
That must be frustrating.
It can be, but it's totally normal. Your body adapts. When that happens, it might be time to reassess things. Are your portion sizes creeping up? Could you add a bit more physical activity? Maybe experiment with meal timing, like trying intermittent fasting?
So it requires ongoing adjustment.
Definitely. It's not just set it and forget it.
So listening to all this, it sounds like it's way more than just the food. It's about mindset support.
Precisely. Building a strong support system is huge, whether it's online communities, keto groups on social media, or even just a supportive friend or family member.
Makes sense.
And educating yourself, really understanding the why behind keto, empowers you to make choices that feel right for you, not just blindly following rules. And maybe think about celebrating progress differently. Focus on the non-scale victories, as they're often called. Do you have more energy? Are you sleeping better? Is your mood more stable? Have your clothes started fitting differently? Those are huge wins.
Right, shifting the focus beyond just the number.
Exactly. And practicing mindfulness around eating. Really tuning into hunger and fullness cues. Distinguishing physical hunger from emotional triggers. That's a crucial skill for long-term success with any way of eating, but especially keto.
Okay, so this isn't meant to be just a 30-day challenge for most people who adopt it seriously. It's a lifestyle shift. How do you make keto sustainable for the long haul?
Yeah, sustainability is key. And it often involves evolving your approach. That initial macro breakdown, the starting point. Over time, you'll need to personalize it based on how you feel, your activity level, your results.
So what might change?
It might. Maybe you find you can tolerate slightly more carbs once you're adapted. Or maybe you need to adjust your protein. Using tracking apps periodically can help you fine-tune. And practicing that mindful eating we just mentioned.
That becomes even more important long-term.
Absolutely. Really savoring your food, eating without distractions. It makes the whole experience more enjoyable and helps you stay in tune with your body's signals, preventing mindless overeating.
So that idea of listening to your body is paramount.
It really is. Pay attention to your energy levels, your cravings, how different foods make you feel. Sometimes people find incorporating occasional strategic carb cycling beneficial.
Carb cycling, what's that?
It's basically planning short periods, maybe a day or two, where you intentionally eat a higher amount of healthy carbs. This can help replenish glycogen stores, especially if you're doing intense exercise.
Ah, okay. So flexibility is important.
Huge. Being flexible and responsive to your body's needs is crucial. And also, reassessing your goals. Maybe initially it was all about weight loss, but now your focus is on maintaining energy or managing a health condition. Keeping your why front and center helps maintain commitment.
And probably keeping things interesting in the kitchen helps avoid boredom, right?
Oh, massively. Culinary creativity is vital. Explore new recipes, try different spices, learn new cooking techniques for keto foods. Meal prepping consistently ensures you always have tasty, compliant options ready.
Prevents desperation takeout.
Exactly. And just staying informed. Nutrition science evolves. Keep learning, stay updated so you can continue making smart choices for your long-term health.
This has been super insightful. To kind of bring it all together, let's talk about some real people. We've got some inspiring stories of transformation through keto.
Yeah, these really illustrate the potential impact. Take Emily, a 34-year-old teacher. She lost 45 pounds over 6 months, but more importantly, she said it completely reshaped her eating habits for the better.
What was her main takeaway?
Patience and self-compassion. She emphasized that it's okay to slip up sometimes. The key is just to get back on track and keep going.
That's great advice.
Then there's Michael, an accountant in his late 40s. He lost 60 pounds in a year and saw significant improvements in his cholesterol. His big thing was understanding the science. He felt that knowing why it worked empowered him to stick with it.
Understanding empowers consistency. Makes sense. Who else?
Sophia, 28. She described herself as always being tired before keto. Afterwards, sky-high energy levels. She really embraced the food side, finding joy in things like avocado smoothies and cauliflower pizza.
So she made it fun.
Exactly. Her advice was basically, make it enjoyable, explore new foods. And Liam, a 29-year-old personal trainer, found keto unlocked a new level of physical performance for him, plus he shed 25 pounds. He urges people to stay curious about how nutrition impacts their bodies.
Interesting how it impacts everyone differently.
It really does. Maria, 42, found the emotional benefits were just as significant as the physical. She experienced much more stable moods and reduced anxiety, learning to prioritize her mental wellness through her food choices.
Wow, the mind-body connection there.
Definitely. And lastly, Henry, 37, who called himself a foodie. He totally reinvented his cooking and meal prepping, proving you don't have to sacrifice flavor or creativity. He lost 30 pounds while exploring tons of new recipes. Hashtag tag outro.
Those are some truly incredible stories. They really highlight that, yes, keto can deliver impressive results, but the journey itself seems to be just as much about personal growth, learning about yourself, and finding support.
I agree. If you connect it to the bigger picture, adopting this kind of lifestyle isn't just about changing your diet. It's really an opportunity to cultivate a much deeper, more conscious relationship with your body, with your food choices.
A different way of thinking about nourishment.
Exactly. It can genuinely pave the way for lasting vitality and a greater sense of well-being, well beyond just the food itself.
So, what does this all mean for you, listening right now? I think perhaps the most compelling takeaway from our deep dive today is that the new you promised by many diets, including keto, isn't just about the physical outcome. It's really about forging that deeper connection, understanding how you nourish your body and your mind. It offers this potentially transformative journey towards better health, more energy, and just a more vibrant, engaged life.